the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
Launch left center field. Kirilov back at the wall. It is gone. Goodbye. Anthony Volpe. Lead off smash for Volpe, and the Yankees immediately jump out to a 1-0 lead series finale in Minnesota.
2-2 pitch to Yaz. Swinging. He hits a high drive deep to right field. Back at the wall, way back there. Goodbye! It hits the tin roof and bounces up into the stands. A 2-run homer for Yastrzemski.
Celtics by 11. Tatum steps to his left. Quick three. Got it. Derek White dribbles into the front court, and the final seconds will tick off the clock. For the 6th time in 8 years and the 3rd year in a row, the Boston Celtics are going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I'm just drafting this kid just because of I'm going to get his dad. Like, I don't think a GM would really allow that.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
All right, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive. The PGA Championship is underway, and Godfather, you got to share the story with Scotty Scheffler stepping up to the first tee today. What did the announcer say when he got ready for hole number 1?
Well, they kept talking about how he had not been able to play in the last 2 tournaments because of the birth of his son. He took a couple weeks off, of course, to be with his wife. And so, yeah, maybe he needed a couple holes just to knock the rust off a little bit. So the first hole's a par 4, and, it's a beautiful drive, as he always does, and pulls out his 9-iron, and hits a shot right at the pin. It took one bounce right in front of the flag and dropped right into the cup. It was crazy. So he started his day off at the PGA with an eagle 2, which is a nice way to start a major.
That's a perfect way to start a major. And I just believe when guys are at that level, when you're that good, a couple of weeks off, I think he's going to be okay. Scotty Scheffler knows what he's doing. And you and I were joking about this the other day. For people like you and I, when you have a kid that comes into your life, wildly disruptive.
Yes.
What in the world is going on here?
That's
I
right.
can't sleep. It won't stop making noise. I want to die. It's totally chaotic for the first one. At least that was my experience. And I think part of the reason that it was so awful is that grandparents and parents lie about the truth when it comes to babies.
Well,
they make it sound like it's some type of fantasy world or some type of dream, like, oh, babies are wonderful. They're beautiful. They make everything better.
That's because they want to be grandparents.
Yes. Well, I'm telling you, I am honest to any guy who asks me about being a dad, who maybe is expecting their first child. I'm just brutally honest. Like, look, it may not be the same, but for me, it was incredibly disruptive, and it's a brutal experience in the first few months because you have really nothing to offer as a father. It's horrible. So I just try to prepare them for what it is because I don't want to be like my parents or grandparents who made it sound like it was some type of dream. But if you're Scotty Scheffler,
that's a whole different situation.
Yes, not to say he's not going to be a great father, but if you have that type of money, my guess would be Scotty Scheffler's not getting up at 3 a.m. in the middle of his workouts and his preparation. He's probably got a live-in nanny or maybe a couple of live-in nannies. They got plenty of help
for sure
on staff to be able to make things a little bit easier. It's a different existence, a different stratosphere than what you and I have to deal with or what we experienced, right?
Yeah, for sure. And if he has to, he'll just fly in on a private jet, her mother and father or his mother and father to help, be grandma and grandpa right there on the scene. They probably got a mansion with bedrooms for everybody. They'll put the baby's bedroom in the other wing of the mansion so they don't hear the crying at night.
Yeah. That's
It's pretty
beautiful.
good. Yeah.
That's good living if you have access to that type of scratch.
Yes.
Very expensive, but there you go. Speaking of golf, you passed the note along to me today. We've heard the rumors now for a few months. I've heard Sandler speak about this on multiple occasions, but Netflix has greenlit Happy Gilmore 2.
Yes. What's your reaction?
I'm excited, but I'm also concerned because there are certain films that are legendary, and they mean a lot to me and to others, and I get really worried when people want to go back to the well and try to recreate something that may not be able to be recreated because it was so special and perfect when it hit. Happy Gilmore is a legendary film. I quote it to my buddies all the time. It comes up on the golf course all the time. It's one of Adam Sandler's finest movies. It was hilarious. And it had Carl Weathers and Christopher McDonald. I mean, the characters in the film were spectacular. My worry is that I don't want it to be the remake of Dumb and Dumber with Daniels and Carey because that movie sucked. And Dumb and Dumber is a classic, legendary film, just like Happy Gilmore. So it's got to be handled with care, Godfather, because when you try to do a remake or a sequel, it can be good or you could be taking steps that would lead to danger. But my guess would be you at least we know that Sandler will give everything he's got because he's going to handle it with care because Happy Gilmore means a lot to him too.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on the writing, of course, but right after the writing is the cast. Who have you heard is going to be in this thing?
All right, here are the rumored individuals. And this is good. Happy Gilmore, of course, will be played by Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Christopher McDonald returns as Shooter McGavin.
Shooter McGavin, yeah.
He had to be in the film. You can't do another Happy Gilmore without Shooter.
Yeah.
Will Zalatoris will be Gilmore's caddy. That's delicious.
I like Will Zalatoris, and he looks a bit like a caddy. Yeah.
This is good news for everybody. Sydney Sweeney as Cart Girl, and she is a smoke show. Smoke show. Tiger Woods as Chubbs Peterson Jr. I have a feeling, Tiger Woods for years was so robotic in basically everything he did. The way he walked, the way he communicated. The course looks good. My swing feels good. I like my chances. He was the same guy every week. It was boring. But as time has gone on, he's loosened up not a lot, but enough to where I think he could be really good in this role.
Yeah.
But my favorite choice right now is Paige Spiranek as the public relations lady. And that's a win for everybody because Paige Spiranek is sensational. I mean, she's ridiculous. My son is in total love with her. He asks me about Paige all the time. And he's actually hit her up on some social media and communicated with her. So he has this idea that he and her are pals.
Someday,
yeah. She was like, oh, yeah, my dad plays golf all the time. You should play with him sometime. Hey, son, just leave me out of this. You deal with whatever you got to deal with Paige, and I'll take care of myself, but thanks. So my son's drawing my name into that.
Yeah, for people who don't know her, and I can't imagine there has to be people who don't know her, but I don't know them. Anyway, she's really a good golfer.
Yeah, she was a college golfer, and then she, went after her, card, her, pro card, but fell short, and now she's a social media influencer. Big time influencer.
She influences you a lot, I think.
Well, not just me, you, everyone. Shacker agrees. I mean, she's stunning. She truly is stunning. She won Maxim's hottest Hot 100. She was number one on the list. Yeah. I mean, she's sensational. But I've been watching a lot of videos with her because she does a lot of golf videos with. She's been out with Bryson, a number of other golfers. She does a lot of stuff on the golf course, and she's a good personality. So I enjoy her golf videos on YouTube. They're awesome. And
well, those guys are smart to put her on their YouTubes because
of course she's got a big following.
Yeah, huge following.
people have a tendency to want to look at beautiful people. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And she is about as good as it gets. So that's the cast. Like I said, Sandler, just handle it with care. Because there's been a lot of remakes or.
Yeah. Wasn't there a Caddyshack 2?
Yeah, and it sucks.
I never even saw it.
The only thing good about Caddyshack 2 is the soundtrack because Kenny Loggins, one of my favorite Kenny Loggins songs is from that movie, Caddyshack 2. And I would play it for you right now. But
I'm All Right. That was the first one, I think.
I know, but he also was a part of Caddyshack 2, yeah.
Oh.
In fact, I just hit the song. I sent the link over to my boy Steve down in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
He had forgotten about the song, and he told me he's been stuck in Kenny mode the last 2 weeks. He can't stop listening to the song.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like crap movie, great song. The soundtrack's good, but yeah, Caddyshack 2 is awful.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have done that.
I liked the first one so much I didn't want to see the second one. Just didn't interest me. I knew it wouldn't be as good. Got terrible reviews. In fact, some people stopped liking the first one because the second one was so bad.
Yeah. Even with the National Lampoon's Vacation, European Vacation, garbage, and Vegas Vacation, garbage.
Yeah.
They got Christmas Vacation right.
That's a sensational must-see at Christmas time.
I think that Christmas Vacation is better than the original Vacation.
I would agree.
That's just my take on it.
Yeah.
But they're both good. But again, 2 out of 4, 2 of them were awful.
I know.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, money
I don't
grab.
want that to happen. So that's what I get concerned about. I mean, even Rocky, he's been remarkable in terms of what Stallone's been able to do with the franchise. He's only had one bad flick out of all the different Rocky movies that have been done. But Rocky V was really bad because you keep pushing the envelope. Sometimes you run out of good ideas or fresh ideas or you overthink it. The writing's not good, and then you wind up with a dud. I don't want that. I want a movie that is memorable and has a number of one-liners, just like the first one.
Are there any rumors about what the plot might be? Are they going to be older? Are they going to be like
I don't know.
older or because that'll be interesting too. By now he'd be kind of at the end of the trail, I would think, in his, waning years on the tour, or maybe they're just going to set it a month after the first one ended. Who knows?
I don't know. Great question. Excellent question. Also, how do you find a way to pay tribute to Bob Barker, who has passed away? And how do you pay tribute to Carl Weathers, who played Chubbs Peterson?
Yeah.
They'll find a way to pay tribute to Barker. They have to. It's almost like a payoff that you got to do for the fans, and they'll probably do the same thing for Carl Weathers. That just seems like something Sandler would do.
Yeah.
Because of what those two guys meant to the first movie. I think Ed McMahon was the first one they approached to play that scene.
Is that right?
In the Pro-Am with Happy before they went to Bob Barker.
No
and I think
kidding.
Ed McMahon was like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. He turned him down because he thought it was going to be a clown show probably.
Yeah.
And then they go to Bob Barker, and he knocked it out of the park. Bob Barker was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing. He and Bob Barker fighting was wild.
Yeah.
The price is wrong. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We got a big show today. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, going to join us and talk NFL schedule at 4:20. And then the Florida man himself, Brad Botkin, CBS Sports, talking NBA at 5:20. I'm sure we got something to give away today. That's the way we roll here on Rip City Radio 620. We have a 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns, who are taking on Carolina in June at Providence Park. When we come back, we'll focus in on the NFL schedule and talk about a few of the highlights. That's Dwight. I'm Chad. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Godfather, I mentioned Kenny Loggins from the failed Caddyshack 2. That was a crappy movie, but the soundtrack was really good. And I want to play just a portion of the song I was talking about. It's titled Nobody's Fool. You'll probably remember when you hear it, but it was a smash for him in the 80s. But I pretty much love just about everything Kenny's done. He's a stud. So let's take a listen to this. This is a song that Steve and I would have appreciated that, if he would have played it at the concert we saw down in Vegas last year. I think Kenny was too good for Caddyshack 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good song. I remember it now.
Oh, yeah, here comes the good part. There you go. Nice work by Kenny Loggins. He's a stud, but he absolutely nailed it in the 80s with the soundtracks. He got tied in with Footloose, Caddyshack, and Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
Boom! That's how easy it was for him.
Yeah, he made some money off that.
All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Let's talk some NFL schedule, Godfather. And then I've got great news about my trip to Denver coming up in September for the Pittsburgh game. Just when you think it can't get any better, it gets better. Thanks to one guy, and I'll share you the story on that coming up here at 4 o'clock. And we have a 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns we're going to give away. And sometimes people pull something, and you're like, dude, that is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bringing a smile to my face, Godfather. And by the way, I'm excited for Saturday, 8/24.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there. Can't wait to get out there in Willamette Valley Country Club, play a little golf in the beautiful weather.
Yeah.
I know Nancy, she's probably excited, or maybe she doesn't look forward to walking around 18 holes with you and I don't know.
Very excited with it. And I think the whole club is very excited. I don't expect the red carpet to be out there just for a practice round, but I'm sure the trumpets and the red carpet for the actual tournament will be out there to welcome you.
But seriously, what makes this such a dope weekend is that her and I get a chance to play the course.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just 2 weeks away from the tournament, which is going to be June 1st and June 2nd. So it's going to be fun to just have some golf conversation with your wife and get a good look at the course. And my coach gave me some game plans on a couple of the holes that are tough because they got some tough holes out there.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to going through and just seeing how she navigates the course because she knows it so well. So it's going to be cool.
Yeah, she does. You're going to love the course now. It's
great condition.
Great condition. Yeah, all that rain.
Sunshine.
Yeah, rain, combination of rain and sunshine, and they're doing a great job. I think the rough is in better shape than it's been for a while, and the greens are pretty fast.
All right, the NFL schedule has been dropped, and we're all excited about that because we get a chance to talk about some of the games. I want to ask you this question first, Godfather. The Jets will get 6 primetime games. Aaron Rodgers is going to be back. But the Jets are not a good football team, or at least they weren't last year. But Aaron Rodgers, for a variety of different reasons, is a draw. What do you think about the Jets getting 6 primetime games?
I think it's a gamble by the networks. You're gambling not only on Aaron being able to get through a season healthy, but not just that, you're also gambling on them being a team with him at the controls that's worth watching because they have nothing to make me watch them really other than him. So if he's hurt, I'm not watching him. But then if they're not very good, I'd watch him the first game or two. But after that, I'm not interested. They have so many compelling quarterback stories this year that I'm going to be very interested in watching all these rookie quarterbacks. And that's going to be fun for me. And I'm also really interested in watching Justin Herbert in Los Angeles with the Chargers to see the coaching change and how much difference that has made. Because those are all, I think, really interesting storylines.
I love it. I think the quarterback storylines with the vets who are there, guys like Rodgers or Justin Herbert or, heck, Patrick Mahomes, take your pick. Those are great stories. Joe Burrow coming back from injury. He got banged up last year. Deshaun Watson and whether or not he can finally get things together for the Cleveland Browns. I love all those stories. Deshaun Watson trying to bounce back after an awful AFC Championship game. He opens up the season in Kansas City against the Chiefs, the team that knocked him out of the postseason in their year when the Ravens were supposed to go to the Super Bowl. But I think the rookie quarterbacks are going to be fun to watch. Obviously, you and I have great interest in Bo Nix, Caleb Williams in Chicago, surrounded by talent.
Absolutely.
How's that going to play out?
Yep.
What will it look like in New England without Bill Belichick and a rookie quarterback? Like, I love all of those questions. Michael Penix and whether or not he gets to play right away.
I was just going to say, you got to keep your eye on Atlanta just to see what happens.
The risky part for me in putting the Jets in 6 primetime slots,
Yeah.
they could be great. They could be. But they're also a franchise that could go bad real quick.
It's the Jets. I say that the same way I would say it's the Clippers, you know?
Yes. The Jets are basically the trailblazers when it comes to big men and the injury history that exists with centers here in town. That's what they are. Almost like a cursed franchise. They haven't been good for a long period of time. And for most of my life, the Jets, you're right, like the Clippers. They'll have an occasional good season here and there, but for the most part, they're not even a storyline in their own city because they just don't have the players, the quarterback, or whatever to make it happen. They don't grab headlines. They don't win games.
Even when they have the players, they just don't get there, you know?
And so Jet-like that in the first series of Aaron Rodgers' tenure with the Jets last year, he goes down with an Achilles injury on Monday Night Football. And what was even more bizarre is that Zach Wilson came in and somehow got the Jets over on the Bills that night. Crazy. So I want to talk about a few of these games that are on the slate. Thanksgiving Day, you've got the 9:30 kickoff, Bears at the Lions. That suddenly is a delicious game because Caleb Williams getting a chance to go up against Detroit, who should be one of the best teams in football. And they've got a quarterback in Jared Goff who just got a fat new contract extension, and he has really revived his career in Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
He was that guy where he comes over, and you thought it might be the end of the line for Jared Goff, and yet they told him right away, like, you're our guy, we believe in you, and look at what he's done. He's played terrific football, and he was sensational last year.
And they love him in Detroit. Man, is he popular.
Yes. Really, his story in Detroit with the Lions is much like we saw with Penix going from Indiana to Washington or Bo Nix going from Auburn to Oregon, where Jared Goff needed a change. He found a coach and a team and an organization that not only likes him, but they love him, and they embraced him, right? The other guy in L.A., McVay, was trying to force him out. He didn't want him, didn't think he was a guy he could win with.
Yeah.
And he goes to Detroit, and look at him now. Jared Goff's getting the last laugh, which is
I'll tell
nice.
you how popular he is. I'm hearing that you might be at a random Detroit Pistons game. He's not at the game. Jared Goff is not there. But all of a sudden you'll hear, Jared Goff, Jared Goff, just coming from people. Pretty soon it's very loud, and he's not even there, but they love the guy.
All right, the second game on Thanksgiving, the Giants at the Cowboys. That doesn't look like a good game on paper. The Cowboys should roll the Giants, who have quarterback issues like usual, and nothing but question marks. And then the night game is a good one. The third game, 5:20 kickoff, Dolphins at the Packers. Dolphins coming off a good year. Packers coming off a good year. You've got an established quarterback in Tua, who's had his best season last year with the Dolphins. And now we're going to sit and watch Jordan Love, who finished out last year on fire and was big time in that playoff game against Dallas and nearly got his team over on San Francisco in the divisional round. So I'm excited to see what Jordan Love, what does that next step look like for him?
Yeah.
And then for Tua, he had one full year of health where he was highly productive. Can he make it back-to-back years of being available and productive for the Dolphins? Because when he was on the field last year with that speed and the way they played, they look pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, good time. Miami, that game's in Green Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Miami catches a real lucky break there to play them that early in the season, because usually Miami going to Green Bay, say in November, it's almost impossible for them to survive the weather.
No, they're going to freeze their butts off.
Yeah, but they can handle the weather now, I'm sure. It won't be so bad.
All right. I want to ask you about this. I think it's genius, but Prime, they've got a Black Friday game. It's going to be the Raiders at the Chiefs, a noon kickoff on Prime on Black Friday. You think that's pretty intelligent by Amazon to take that game on Black Friday at noon. Why is that?
Well, my understanding was that was a big part of them going in on the NFL. They will use that entire game. Every advertising spot that comes through will be about, hey, it's Black Friday, Christmas shopping. We've got these bargains on Amazon.com. Get on there now and get your Prime bargains shipped out to you tomorrow, whatever they're selling. Huge day. It's always a big day for them anyway, Black Friday, because people don't want to go out and survive the big crushes at the stores on that day. So, hey, let's just sit at home and watch football and maybe order a few things on Amazon.
I don't know what the numbers are. I'd love to see them, but you and I have talked about this at length about how you and I are getting much more comfortable just ordering stuff from Amazon and having it delivered right to our door to avoid all the hassle of going to the stores.
Too comfortable sometimes. Buying things that, do you really need it? And if you had to go out and buy it, would you do that?
No.
Yeah.
But if it can be delivered right to your doorstep later that day or the next day, why not?
It's like gambling. No, would you gamble? Well, if I can on my phone, sitting here in front of the TV, don't have to go to the casino. Same thing.
So get ready for your Black Friday ads on Amazon Prime. Raiders at the Chiefs at noon on Black Friday. Now, the opening weekend, the primetime games, we get the defending Super Bowl champs at home. Ravens at the Chiefs, which is going to be Thursday, September 5th. That should be a heck of a game. One, because the Chiefs are kicking off their season where they're going to go for a repeat, which we haven't seen in the NFL in a long time. So it's a big moment for the Chiefs as they start their title defense, but they get a chance to host the Ravens. And a big moment for the Ravens, who really stunk up the joint and lost to the Chiefs in that AFC Championship game, and Lamar Jackson did not play well. So a chance for him to go out there and make a statement early. The Ravens, of course, we know how they play. They're physical. They want to get after it on defense. They like to run the football, even though they forgot about that in the AFC title game. But this is a big game to start the year because this is the type of game with those two teams that could have tiebreak implications later in the year, because you would expect the Chiefs and the Ravens to be right there near the top of the conference at the end of the season. But I love that we get that game early in the season.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not worried about the Chiefs being there. Ravens, keep the quarterback healthy. That's a big deal with them, too.
And he was healthy last year.
Yeah.
And look what happened. They were big time. One of the best teams all season long. On the 6th, which is a Friday, one of your favorites, Godfather, Packers and Eagles from Brazil. Don't you love how we just ship our games out of the country?
I think it's terrible. It's a disgrace, really. There's no reason, especially, I get it. They're going over to Germany again. Germany loves the NFL. I can see doing that. Brazil, I don't know what they're trying to do with this, but having to go out of the country to play opening game of the season, that sucks. I'm sorry, but that's just not right. You're taking that game away from NFL fans here. And those people in Brazil, they're going to turn it into a festival just like everything else is in Sao Paulo.
The one thing I hate, too, is like for the team that has to give up a home game. You give up a home game to go play this game out of the country. I'm not down. I don't like it. What are you going to do, grow the NFL in Brazil?
I don't think so. Do you? I mean, really, what do you? And, I mean, don't you have enough money? Come on. All these networks giving you huge sums to telecast the games, and you're going to try and grow it so that you can make more money selling uniform tops in Brazil? Come on.
The NFL owners are money grubbers.
Oh, man, this is disgraceful.
Big-time money grubbers.
Yeah. And I guess the Players Association can't do anything about it. If they could, I think they would.
All right, Sunday night opening week. This is a good one. We've got the Rams at the Lions. So you get that playoff rematch with Jared Goff getting a chance to go up against his former team again. That was a close playoff game. Of course, Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit. So you get that matchup between Campbell and McVay. Like, that's a good game.
Yeah.
That's big time. And the Rams should be very good. They did a good job in the draft last year. They've got some good young talent. They've got the coaching. We're going to hear a sample of McVay later in the show today. That guy is
genius.
Yeah. When you hear, like, genius gets tossed around a lot when it comes to coaches, but I think McVay, he might be a genius.
More than that, I think. He's a savant almost. I mean, he's different.
He probably has a photographic memory.
Yeah. At least a photographic memory.
At least.
A video memory, too. I mean, it's amazing.
And then the Monday Nighter, this is a good one. A tough way for Aaron Rodgers to get back in the mix. Jets at the 49ers. Opening week, Monday Night Football. That's big time.
Homecoming game for Aaron, going back to the Bay Area.
homecoming. In fact, we had Brian Cage.
Yeah, from
in studio,
same high school.
Pleasant Valley High School, went to school, graduated the same year as Aaron Rodgers, and they're friends.
Yeah. He said Aaron Rodgers wasn't like the classic hotshot high school quarterback. He was a good guy.
Yeah, in fact, who was it that used to work here? Bobby Corser. You know who Bobby Corser is.
Yeah, I know Bobby for years.
Well, he grew up and knew Aaron Rodgers when he was younger, right? And he would tell Travis Demers that all the time. And Travis was like, no, you don't know Aaron Rodgers. So when Trav was up in Seattle covering a game, I think it was the NFC title game back in like 2014 when the Packers went up there and lost, he asked Aaron if he knew Bobby. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he had a nickname for him and everything. So Aaron, he remembers the people he went to school with and where he came from, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, he lived in Beaverton for a while his dad was up here going to, I think, chiropractic school his dad went to up here.
Oh, chiropractic school.
Yeah, he played Little League out here in Beaverton.
I need a family.
Very good baseball player.
Man, I need someone. If there are any single chiropractors out there, I'm available.
One?
Yeah, no, it'd be just nice to.
You want to marry one, maybe? Huh?
Yeah, I'm just like, hey, hey, honey, before you leave, like,
free chiropractic for life.
Yeah, I think that would be genius. Massage therapist, maybe a chiropractor, but it would be nice to get adjustments whenever you need one. In fact, when I went on my trip to Israel, I was over there for over 2 weeks. Midway through the trip, my back was tweaked because I get an adjustment every week, and so I was kind of hobbling around. Well, the husband and wife, there was this couple that was on the trip, and they were both chiropractors. And the guy's like, oh, he saw me walking. He's like, what's wrong? I said, my back's a little tweaked. He goes, well, I'm a chiropractor. I'm like, really? Get out. And he goes, yeah, come up to my room a little bit later. And he goes, I'll adjust you. So he did. He put me down on the bed and gave me a nice little adjustment and got me going. I was like, thank you, my friend. That was beautiful. Love that.
Did you buy him dinner or something? I mean, you got to take care of people who take care of you.
I can't remember what I did, but I was sure happy he was there. I'm just saying, the convenience of having someone around that can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's very nice. So there you go. That is the primetime matchup. We got the Thursday, Friday games kicking off the season on September 5th and 6th. And, of course, on NFL opening Sunday, the Seahawks will host the Broncos. Hopefully, Bo Nix will be starting, and he'll get a chance to go up there and take on the Seahawks. In my mind, I was thinking, oh, yeah, a lot of Duck fans will travel up. But the reality is that stadium's going to be filled with Husky fans who are also Seahawks fans.
Yeah.
They will want to see Bo Nix go down.
Oh, for sure.
He will not get a warm reception at Lumen Field.
For sure.
Husky fans are going to be like, die, Nix, die! They're not.
They will.
That's just the way that goes. That's a hostile environment for the young quarterback, assuming he wins the job. I keep acting like Bo Nix is a starter. He hasn't been named the starter yet, but when your competition is Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson, you should probably win that quarterback job.
Well, and the head coach has staked his reputation on your draft pick.
But seriously, what does that say? If Bo Nix is not starting at week 1, what does that say about Bo Nix?
Well, I think there's a problem. If he doesn't start with those guys behind him.
Yeah, because no matter how you answer the question, if you're Sean Payton, it's like, hey, coach, why isn't Nix starting week 1? Yeah, we just didn't feel like he was ready. Against Stidham and Zach Wilson, are you kidding me?
Well, the only legit thing would be, hey, really hostile environment for a guy to play his first pro game in, and maybe you don't want to subject him to that environment at the Seahawks games. The 12s can be pretty bad, but that's not a valid enough excuse to sit him out. He's got to get used to that stuff.
No. All right. I looked over through the window, and Shacker had this bitter beer face. He's like, oh, the computer's frozen.
What?
Yeah. He just had that look. I can tell by Shacker's eyes when things are going sideways. I looked over. He gave me the look, wrinkled brow and everything. And I was like, uh-oh, the ship might be crashing right now. We're not even out of hour number 1, and the ship is already getting ready to fly into the side of a mountain,
and
Godfather.
The sad thing for Michael Shacker is we can't do anything to help him.
No.
Good luck, Mike.
We're helpless losers in here.
Yeah.
We're basically 2 no-good-for-nothing dudes.
We're just worried about running in and getting a Diet Coke during the intermission.
And when we're not doing that, we're getting yelled at by the traffic lady for being too loud in the hallways.
Yeah.
Hey,
that doesn't need to go public.
Can you guys keep it down?
Keep our dirty laundry off the air.
We're always getting in trouble.
I know it.
Gosh. That's what you get for being next to a couple of sports guys.
I know. I'd like to buy her more soundproofing for that room. That's the best I could do.
All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. When we come back,
What?
I hate to laugh about it, but did you see what happened to Djokovic?
Yeah, you shouldn't laugh at that.
He got doinked in the head with some water bottle. Those stupid water bottles that everyone carries around almost killed Joker.
Yeah.
It was something out of Three Stooges. Oh, Swinley. We'll get to that next. Yeah, I mentioned the Bo Nix, Michael Penix type turnaround for Jared Goff, who was shipped out of L.A. because McVay didn't want him, didn't think he could win a championship with Goff as his quarterback, even though he had taken him to a Super Bowl and they lost to the Patriots. So he traded Goff to Detroit, got Matthew Stafford, and got his championship. But the trade has worked out big time for Detroit as well. They nearly got to a Super Bowl last year and would have had their coach not put on a dumb cap during the NFC title game. But Jared Goff's played extremely well. And this new contract extension, Godfather, this is put out by Andrew Brandt. I want your take on these numbers. Tops all contracts ever in, number one, signing bonus, $73 million. How would you like a $73 million signing bonus?
Yeah, I'd take it. Yeah. Anytime you want to give it to me, I'm happy to take it.
Number two, first-year cash, $80.6 million.
Gosh.
That's big money. And number three, according to Brandt, the yearly money, $153.6 million, only behind Lamar's $156. No option structure, as so many other quarterback deals. What a deal for a guy who was thought of by most as a bridge quarterback for the Lions.
Yeah. Well, they did some other teams a favor by not giving that to him until I think all of the other quarterbacks due for an extension have already been taken care of. So they didn't set that as a precedent for many of the other quarterbacks looking for more money. And so they did the league a favor, but that's, I would almost say, outrageous money. He's really good, but he hasn't won a Super Bowl. I don't know that is he top tier quarterback in the NFL? I mean, I can't put him up there with.
I don't put him up in the top tier with guys like Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, but he's probably in that second tier down. But what he does really well, he's not a mobile guy, but when he's standing in the pocket delivering the football, he's very accurate. I mean, he throws the football extremely well. He's got great vision. He's smart. He processes well, and he gets rid of the football on time and on target. And when you do that, you're going to have great success. But his accuracy it's pinpoint accuracy. And as a coach, you love that because your quarterback gets rid of it when he's supposed to, and he delivers it right on the spot. And
he's also good in the community. Fans love him.
He's terrific.
Very popular. If you don't retain him, there's a revolt.
Yeah.
A mutiny in Detroit if you don't retain him.
All right. This story is just absolutely bizarre. But Novak Djokovic, he got hit in the head with a water bottle at the Italian Open after the match when he was stepping over to a group of fans to sign some autographs, and somebody up above him. Backpack. It fell out of the backpack. Of course it did. And it doinked him right in the head, Three Stooges style. And all of a sudden, he grabbed his head and went down like a ton of bricks, like a true European basketball player in the NBA, like he just got sniped.
He did.
And I don't want to make light of such a situation, but he did go down. It looked pretty soft in my mind. He grabbed his head with two hands, and he went down. And I guess he was getting examined for potential concussion. And
well, he said he had concussion symptoms. He had a headache, and he had some nausea.
But this is the kind of stuff I would watch with my brother when I was younger, the Three Stooges, one of the greatest shows of all time. And you would watch it for the shenanigans to see how many different ways these guys could get themselves into trouble and then hurt themselves. Like the type of stuff where Djokovic, this is basically like walking through the yard, stepping on a rake, and it swings up and doinks you in the face. Are you kidding me?
I give the guy some credit. The guy who had the backpack, it looks like, I think it's the same guy. He didn't run. I would have just turned tail and run. Maybe he wanted his water bottle back. I don't know. But he was still standing there like, oh, gosh, sorry.
I got to be honest with you. Like, I hate all these water bottles that people carry around. My daughter's got one. It's like hard as nails.
Yeah.
Like, she could kill me with her water bottle. Everyone's got their water bottles now. They got to carry it around in the special water bottle. Now every place has got to have a place where you can refill your water bottle. People are carrying this thing around everywhere. I don't want any of that stuff. I don't want permanent water bottles. I don't want a to-go mug for my coffee every morning. The reason why mostly is because, one, they're annoying, but two, how do people keep track of these things without losing them?
I've lost more water bottles. I can't keep them for more than about a month.
Oh, my gosh. And then I've got these guys. I have a couple of friends who are real big on the plastic and, you don't want to drink water out of a plastic bottle because of this and that and the cancer and all this stuff. It's like, there's a point where some people, they go so deep into a subject where I'm like, look, man, I don't need that in my life. You go off with your water bottle conspiracies or whatever. Just let me be, man. You're killing me right now, dog. But seriously, like
I get it.
Some people, basically everyone now, they've got a special bottle for everything they carry around. I got one for the water. I've got the to-go mug for the coffee, the this and the that. How do you keep track of all that crap? It's annoying.
I don't know.
You get on an airplane now, and everyone's got their special water bottle.
Yeah, they do.
What's up with that? Do you carry one? You don't carry one.
Well, I got one sitting here that I go in there and refill, but I don't like carrying it around.
Do you have a special
they fall
carrying
out.
bottle, Shacker? It's annoying.
Yeah, I got tons of water bottles. Not enough room to store them all.
Yeah. And I do remember when I was younger, my dad had the Stanley thermos that he would put coffee in and take to work.
Oh, my dad had that going to work every day. Sometimes put some hot soup in there, too.
My science teacher at Prairie High School, Mr. Lindbergh, he was super cool. And I was his TA for a couple of years. And it was great because when I'd get to school and I TA'd for him in the morning, he always had a giant Stanley thermos, and he'd let me, he would share his coffee with me. So I get some good coffee because the coffee they had at the school sucked. But his Stanley thermos was money. But seriously, man, the water bottles, like I'm never going to carry one. It's annoying to me.
Gosh, I remember you started me down that trail mentally of just thinking about all those lunch boxes that people carried.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the ones with cartoons on the side or superheroes or some. The old-fashioned ones that adults carried, the black ones.
Yes.
That had an arching top on them. And in that arching top, they put the thermos. And then you had your little sandwich down here, maybe a small bag of potato chips or something.
Yeah.
And, man, people carried those every day.
Yeah, I had the Star Wars lunch pail that I would take to school, and it was like barter time at the lunch table. Hey, you got the Bama pie? I'll trade you this for that.
Yeah.
Dude, you were looking to trade.
Yeah.
If your mom didn't hook you up the right way. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, talking NFL, coming up at 4:20. When we come back, we'll give out a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns taking on Carolina. And we'll talk a little NBA. I need some suggestions for The Godfather in New York. And we'll get into Oklahoma City, Dallas. Big win for the Mavs last night. Hey, Godfather, did I tell you the story behind this song here from Lionel Richie? We were just talking about him yesterday because Shacker played some awful remake of Easy. This song was Lionel's response to Michael Jackson putting out Beat It with the guitar solo from Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
So he wanted to add a little guitar to spice things up, and so he did with this song. And at the end of the song, there's that awesome guitar solo. Well, it's Steve Lukather who played the guitar solo, and he went in the studio because Lukather, along with being the front man for Toto, was also a session musician back in the day.
Yeah.
And so he went in the studio, and he knew he was going to do some work with Lionel. So he went in, and he just sat down and started jamming on his guitar, right?
They just recorded it?
They just recorded it, and he was just in there fiddling around, right? Like just trying to get in a groove and get his hands warmed up. And Lionel walks in the room and says, "Hey, thanks, man. We're good." And Lukather said, "What are you talking about? We're good. I haven't even started yet." And he goes, "No, we got you already. We're fine here." And that was it. And that's what they used for the end of this song, which I think is amazing. Can you imagine?
No.
That's how good these guys are.
He got a nice check for warming up.
Yes. But that was what was crazy about being a session musician.
Yeah.
It's not like they handed you pages of music. You had to go in there and just play.
Yeah.
You had an idea of what they were trying to accomplish. You go in there and start playing and stuff. I think that's amazing.
And if you weren't good, there was probably plenty of people around to take your spot.
Yes. So the pressure was on to perform.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these guys, they're on a deadline. You got to hit it and make it work. And sometimes you get one take.
Yeah, well, they're paying for that studio time for the most part, and probably paying a lot.
Yeah, it was expensive, but I love that. Hey, we're good, man. What are you talking about? I haven't even started yet.
I'd never heard that story.
All right, real quick. I just need 60 seconds of your time. 3 weeks from today, I'll be heading to New York for the Dodgers-Yankees series.
Oh, 3 weeks.
And I have survived, or not survived, but I scheduled out time for the back end and the front end to where I won't be consumed with going to baseball games. I've been there a couple of times. You've been there as well. Do you have a restaurant or a spot that you would recommend that I must go to? Because you were just recently there, and I know you got some advice from O'Coin.
I did. That place he told me about's in Brooklyn. You'd have to take the subway out there, but it's worth going to. I don't happen to have that right here handy, but I'll get it for you.
All right.
I'll get it for you. But no, wait a minute. I won't, because you wouldn't eat a fried chicken sandwich anyway, right?
No.
That's what they do, and they do it better than any place I've ever had one.
No. The only thing I've committed to is I've decided that I'm going to find one night that I'm there, I'm going to find a fancy, good steakhouse, and I'll have a legit meal.
Yeah.
So I'll have one legit meal where I'll spend some coin and be able to do it the right way.
Yeah, I'll get you that. A couple of choices.
I think the hotel I'm staying at's in Hell's Kitchen.
Oh.
That neighborhood.
Yeah.
Which is close to the theater district.
Right. That's why you're going to be around that area on the way into the theater or just hanging out. Juniors there in Times Square. Get the that's where we were that day you met us there.
Yeah.
You got off the train and that's where we were sitting outside, and there's two of them right there in Times Square. And they have really good selection. It's not expensive, but I'll tell you what to order.
Okay.
They got your old typical, and then, probably like the Carnegie Deli, someplace like that, so you can get one of those giant deli sandwiches with the meat piled about that high.
I like that.
Yeah.
I remember, too, when you and I and Nancy were walking over to the train station to take the ride up to the Bronx for the game, I stopped off and got a cup of coffee and a New York bagel, and it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And I was just drinking and walking as we were checking out the scene. The first time I went to New York was when I met you there, and I went from off a plane, taking a ride into town, and I'm standing there in Times Square. That's what the process is like. I'm like, whoa, what in the world is going on
You were
now?
taking in the freak show of Times Square.
And then what do we walk by? Is it Radio Music City Hall or whatever they call that, where NBC was at? We walked by that area, too.
Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah, we walked right by that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Dodgers, Yankees, that's coming up 3 weeks from today. But I got to read this to you. So I told you yesterday, it took Josh and I, my buddy Josh Trainer, about 5 minutes to figure out what we were going to do. When I got the leak that the Steelers and Russ were going to be in Denver for week 2, I was like, well, that's the game. Sean Payton, Russ. There'll be some dynamics there. Early September, great weather in Denver. We can play golf on the Saturday and on the Monday before we're out of town, so it's perfect. Well, we usually stay with his family members, and now my buddy Jeff, who I got the picture for. I had Abby paint him the picture.
Yeah, painting. Yeah.
Yes. And he's awesome. And he lives on a golf course. I mean, and he's got a crib. His crib's awesome. He's got the man cave down below. Well, when I talked to Josh last night after the show, he's like, dude, he goes, Jeff and his wife, Teresa, are going to be out of town. I'm like, what do you mean they're going to be out of town? He's like, yeah, they're gone. And his son, Landon, who we stayed with before, he's also going to be out. So we're like, great, what do we do? Because my aunt and uncle live down in Colorado Springs. And then he sent me a text today. He forwarded me a text that he got back from Jeff. This is called Being Good People right here. And I absolutely love this, but this is what Jeff responded with. And this is why I love the guy so much. He goes, well, now that you mention it, it didn't even dawn on me, but you guys can just stay here without us being here. That will work out. We'll just give you the garage code or put an extra key under the mat or something, and you guys can just come and go as you please. As far as golf on Monday, I know Landon has to work, and I've got the part-time gig at Riverdale Golf Course now on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays as a starter. He just retired, so now he wanted the starter job to get free golf. So I'm not sure what my schedule will be come September. Anyways, yeah, you two are welcome to stay here. You just won't have the Teresa hospitality for the couple of days in town. Isn't that awesome? So my man Jeff stepping up to the plate and offering up his crib so that Josh and I can have the perfect weekend. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. See,
I don't know that you deserve to be treated that way.
I don't.
Chad. That's amazing.
No, I don't have a problem admitting that. I don't deserve that type of hospitality.
Yeah.
I'm a complete douche nozzle. Why anyone would allow me into their house is beyond my understanding.
Yeah.
But that's why I love Jeff. And I told you, like, he's so cool that when I was there last year, I'm like, what can I get this guy that he doesn't already have? He's got everything. And that's when I did some investigating. He told me who his second favorite Bronco was after John Elway. So I had the picture painted and shipped it to him, and he was blown away. And I didn't know he was going to retire later that year, but it arrived right at the time of his retirement, so it ended up being like a retirement present. Mm-hmm. And then he gets the job as a starter. Like, he's living my dream right there. Retired, and then you get the, quote, job at the golf course for one simple reason: free golf. With the guy I was playing with today, Glenn, he lives out in Washougal. He's like, I've already talked to Camas Meadows. He goes, I can get a job there working 1 day a week, 6-hour shift, and have all the free golf I want. I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You're retired too, Glenn. Get on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need me to drive around in a golf cart, tell people what to do for 6 hours free golf? Yeah, count me as in on that. No problem. The only time that job would suck would be like on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon when you got the renobs out there that have no clue of what they're doing. Mm. Can you speed up the play? You're on a 5.5-hour pace, and you got people behind you wanting to kill you right now. Can you please pick it up a little bit? Do you need to search for every ball that you whack into the woods? Please, just keep it going. Come on now. That's all. What a great job that is. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You should probably try and get a gig over at Willamette Valley to take off some of the cost of the membership or whatever you guys pay, which I'm sure is very cheap, by the way. Get on that, Godfather.
Yeah, it's very cheap. Sure it is.
Yeah, the country clubs are known for discounts on membership.
Yeah, it's Kmart. Yeah. We don't have marshals. That's the one thing we've never really needed them. We should probably have them. We don't even have a starter.
You don't?
No, not really.
Huh.
They do. They'll take the podium and the loudspeaker out there if there's a big tournament there and they need to announce tee times.
Yeah.
They'll do that on occasion, but for the most part, no.
All right. You're right. I've never seen a starter out there or anyone else driving around trying to speed people up. I guess when you're on a private course, everyone knows you got to keep the pace up.
Yeah.
There's no one out there jacking around.
Right, and the people know the rules, and they abide by them for the most part.
That's true.
I just remembered, when you go to Juniors in Times Square, order one thing that you can't get anywhere but New York: an egg cream.
Egg cream?
Yeah.
What the flip is that?
They have them in either chocolate or, I think, chocolate or vanilla. Well, it's an egg cream. It doesn't have egg in it, and it doesn't have cream in it.
But they call it egg cream.
Yes. Yeah. It's basically milk with some flavoring and then carbonated fizzy water, carbonated water. And it tastes delicious. It's very good. You can't find them anywhere else. But it's kind of a New York tradition, an egg cream.
Okay. Well, the one thing I can say about you, and I mean this sincerely, you do not lead me astray. Anytime you recommend something, you know what the heck you're talking about. You're
Yeah.
pretty good in that department, Godfather.
I know. And I'm telling you, juniors, because they have everything you'd ever wanted, plus the best desserts, any kind of dessert you want, pies, fresh homemade pies and everything. They're unbelievable. They have a lot of New York specialties.
All right. I want to ask you about Oklahoma City and Dallas. Luka last night, sensational. He played extremely well. I was impressed with the way Dallas executed throughout the course of the game. But I want to ask you this. Do you think that Luka played better because he was bitching less?
I know where you're going.
I mean, he was doing a lot of whine. Oh, he's one of the worst. It's like, gosh, can you not whine?
He
Luka?
usually complains on every single call.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I'm just used to him running up the court, looking at the official, like slapping his arm, like, dude, contact. Where's the whistle?
Yeah. And
Please stop whining, Luka.
He's very European in it, with waving his arms, looking like he's crying.
The
all that
drama.
stuff. Yeah, it's very dramatic complaining. Last night, there wasn't an awful lot of that, and even commentators remarked about it. It was strange not to see him whining. It may have helped him. I have a feeling that might have helped him. And let's hope that he feels that way so that he won't keep whining all the time.
I thought Dallas, their defense last night was good. I thought they played with great energy. And also, P.J. Washington has been a guy who has stepped up and given them quality minutes. I've been impressed with his play. He was great last night.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I mean, he's been critical to them throughout the playoffs. He's been really good.
Okay. Why was Josh Giddey, after being a starter basically his entire career, why was he suddenly moved to the bench? Is it because he's just been playing like garbage?
Yeah, he hasn't been able to shoot the ball at all. I don't think he's ever been a great shooter, but in the playoffs, he's been a garbage shooter, I would say. And there's been pressure because they're not hitting threes like they need to. If you're getting that kind of penetration from SGA, you got to hit threes around that because you're going to get open threes.
Okay.
They're going to have to double him.
How do you pronounce his name? Is it Coach Dagnall?
Dagnall
or whatever it is. Do you think that was just a young coach mistake? Meaning you
I think it could have come from the front office because he's one of those guys that likes to be loyal to his players and doesn't make many changes. But, sometimes there's pressure within the organization.
Yeah.
Look, we got Joe over here on the bench, and he's a good three-point shooter. Well, that's who he started, and Joe didn't shoot the ball well either.
You know how these guys are freaking creatures of habit, right?
Yeah.
And if they're used to having certain guys, certain rotation, I just don't know why you would change it in the middle of a freaking playoff series.
Chad, it's almost a cardinal rule of coaching in any sport. If you're winning, don't change anything. The Denver team, the Nuggets, they went out before the first game in Minnesota. After they were down 0-2, they went out for a team dinner. Somebody couldn't make the dinner. Aaron Gordon couldn't make it, okay? They went to dinner. They're going out to dinner all the time now. Aaron Gordon can't come because he wasn't there that first time. They've won every game. I get it. I've been in sports my whole life. You don't change anything when you're winning.
I know.
Those guys, all those stories about guys not washing their underwear or their socks or whatever, all that stuff happens in sports. You don't want to mess with karma, man. This is playing with things you don't understand.
I know. And it's not like Aaron Gordon's butthurt. He can't join the team. He gets it.
Yeah.
He's like, I ain't going, man.
No, I'm not going. I'm not going to be the guy to mess this up. Gosh, that's like talking to a guy who's pitching a no-hitter. Don't say a word.
We all do it. Like if I play a great round of golf and I have something particular in my bag or whatever, like I just keep it the same.
That's right.
I know it has nothing to do with anything, but in my mind, it has everything to do with everything.
But really, Chad, there's something to that. There has to be, Has to be.
We're crazy creatures, I tell you.
Yeah.
All right, Brian Noe, speaking of crazy, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is going to join us next. We'll get his take on the JETS, Jets, getting 6 primetime games. We'll talk NFL in Brazil. We'll get his take on Bronny James. That's up next on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Hey, Godfather, don't you think it's official? Like, we love Brian Noe, don't we?
Well, let me think about that. Yeah, Chad, we do.
There's no question. Fox
No,
Sports
we do.
Radio.
Of course. It's great.
He's living the dream right now. I don't even know what city he's in right now.
Oh, you never know with him.
He could be in New Orleans.
He's worldwide.
He could be in Indiana right now. Maybe he's down in Houston. He's all over the place, and he's back on the show. Bino! What's up, Brian?
What is going on, fellas? And I'm in New Orleans right now.
Still.
And, man, how about Dwight, the dramatic pause? You know, I was worried for a second that he didn't love me. It was terrifying.
Little inside radio, Brian. My mic was off. I was looking up something on my phone, and I had to scramble to turn my mic on.
That's what I'm going to tell myself with former relationships. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Same sort of. They were just trying to turn their mic on. That's why the dramatic pause there.
I love that. And you should be happy to know that Michael Shacker, every week, he's like, hey, we got Brian Noe on this week. He loves you. So he's always pressuring me to get you on the show. So today, when I came and I said, dude, B Noe's on, I said, I got him on for you, Shacker. So he's all happy.
Oh, that's nice. Shaq Diesel is my guy. You know, he's a metal guy, sports guy. We get along just great.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it's great to have you back on the show. The NFL schedule has dropped. What do you think about the Jets getting 6 primetime games?
Yeah, man, it's a big bet, right? It's a big bet on the Jets from the league's perspective because, look, man, I think they can be pretty good with Aaron Rodgers, assuming he's healthy, a real defense. I think they can be a double-digit win team, but, man, that is a tough early slate of games. Like you said, Chad, 6 of them are in prime time in the first 11 weeks. So if they get off to a bit of a slower start and it's like, oh, my gosh, the Jets are on again, it really could be like that. I don't think it will, but it is a big bet that it won't be like that for the NFL.
Brian, I want to ask you some questions. I don't recall talking to you after the draft too much, but I was curious, which of those quarterbacks that were taken, which one ended up in the right spot, the best spot for his development?
Best spot for his development, I think that Chicago for Caleb Williams is a pretty good spot. They did a lot to upgrade the talent around him. When you get Rome Odunze with the 9th overall pick, that guy is a stud. I know you watched a lot of Washington games. He's legit. And then when you get Keenan Allen, that's a lot to work with right there. The tight ends, it's like by the way, you got Gerald Everett, who is a pretty good tight end for the Chargers. You match him with Cole Kmet. And by the way, you've got DJ Moore on top of all of that. That's a lot to work with. You pick up DeAndre Swift as a running back. I think that Caleb Williams, in terms of talent around him, he's got a lot to work with. J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings, he's got a lot to work with also, where you start looking at Justin Jefferson as arguably the best receiver in the NFL. And then you've got Jordan Addison. T.J. Hawkinson comes back. He had the torn ACL, but he's a really good tight end. They picked up Aaron Jones. That's a good offensive line, better than the Bears have. So J.J. McCarthy on the Vikings, in terms of talent around him, that's sort of like the anti-Sam Darnold situation right there. When he was with the Jets, they didn't have much to work with. Mac Jones with the Patriots, he didn't have much to work with. But I think both J.J. McCarthy and Caleb Williams, they got a lot of talent around them.
Yeah, I wanted your take, too. I like how Eberflus came out and just said, hey, Caleb Williams is our starter. And I think a lot of times coaches get too cute. They're like, hey, we want competition. We're going to see how camp goes. I thought it was smart for Eberflus, who's not an offensive guy, just to come out and say, look, it's all about Caleb Williams. He'll start and be able to go week 1. I thought that was smart.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, too, because, Chad, some of the comment sections before the draft, it's like, just roll with Tyson Bagent as the starting quarterback. Take this guy with the number 1 overall pick. Take that guy with the 9th pick. Trade down. Boom. We've got 9 Pro Bowlers instantly, and we'll just roll on Bagent. We'll just roll Bagent out there, and it's all good. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, there were some of those comments out there. But to your point, it's funny for anyone who's like, hey, don't draft Caleb Williams. Just stick with Tyson Bagent.
Horrible.
Caleb Williams didn't have 1 practice, and they're like, he's QB1.
Ridiculous.
Brian, let me ask you, this is one of my pet peeves. You're having a season opener in Brazil. Now, explain to me. I mean, I know the league is poor, downtrodden, trying to make a buck anywhere they can because they need it to pay these enormous salaries their players are making. But, I mean, can you justify that? I can't. I think, yeah, it's okay. You've been going to Europe. Go to Europe. Go to Germany. They love you there. Brazil? Really? Sao Paulo, Brazil? I mean, you like that? You like taking home games away from teams?
I'm fine with it. It's just the slow progression to more international games. Goodell was saying this week he's hoping in the next 10 years or so that they have an international game every week. They're hoping for as much as like 16 international games in a season. So I think it's just a slow walk toward that. It's just a matter of time until we have 18 games and you have 2 bye weeks, and then that fits in with international games on top of it. I really don't have an issue with it. The only way I would feel a little weird is if the Super Bowl was played internationally, where it's like, that just feels kind of strange that the Super Bowl is in Germany this year or wherever, and it's not in the States. That would feel strange to me. But for week 1, and it's the second game, I think it's pretty cool. You get the Chiefs hosting that opener, and then you get a game the next night in Brazil. I like it. I'm a fan of it, and it's tomato, right? It's just whatever your personal preference is. But the only thing I would really object to is if the Super Bowl was played internationally. I just wouldn't be a fan of that.
We're talking with Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio here on the Rip City Drive. How about this game on November 25th? Ravens at the Chargers. We finally get to see Harbaugh against Harbaugh again. That should be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a cool one. There are a lot of cool matchups, but I'm so curious what the Chargers are going to be like this year. How good are they going to be? There are a lot of people that think, oh, hey, Harbaugh's there, poof, instant results. And maybe Justin Herbert is a legitimate quarterback, top 10-ish guy, and it could happen. Vegas has their win total, I think, at 9.5 games. And I'm like, man, are the Chargers going to win 10 games immediately with Harbaugh there? It's possible, but when you lose Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they have a lot of holes to address on that roster. I don't know that they're going to get to 10 wins, Chad, but, yeah, that's a cool matchup with the Ravens and the Chargers. You get the Harbaugh Bowl. There are a lot of games I'm looking forward to. That's definitely one of them.
What is the first thing you look at, or what are you looking for when the schedule drops?
I just look for quirks. I look for, oh, man, you got to play 3 road games in a row. You get 3 home games in a row. Just random things that stand out. Like the Packers, for instance, what stands out to me is they play 4 straight primetime games from weeks 13 through 16. And I'm kind of like, that's odd. Like they play on Thanksgiving, then another Thursday, then a Sunday night, then a Monday night game. And I'm like, man, that's a steady diet of the Packers. And so for them, that's a weird schedule quirk. For the NFL, that's a big bet on the Packers being a good team this year. You're going to see them 4 straight weeks in prime time where I don't know that they're going to be any good this year. And if they're not, that's a big bet on Green Bay. And I also look at, Chad, just the start of your season. How tough is it? Do you get to ease in? Is it, the treadmill, you crank it up to like on 8 or 9 and you got to just like run on that thing right away? That's not easy to do. So I look at that. I just look for random quirks and the start of your schedule. What do the first 2, 3, 4 weeks look like?
Seahawks have one of those quirky things, too, where they go east early in the season, come home for a game, and then go right back east again for their next game. It's like you couldn't figure it out to just keep them in the east for a week. Just seems crazy to me.
I know. Yeah, some teams, man, they end up pulling the short straw, right? Where it's like, oh, man, that's a weird way to do it. But, yeah, I think someone's going to get screwed at some point, scheduling-wise, where it's one of these weird deals where you're playing a bunch of road games in a row, or, man, some of the road games that you're actually playing, the opponents, it's like it's one thing to play 3 straight road games, but depending on who you're playing on top of that, that can make it way, way more challenging. And there was one that stood out. I'm trying to find it for you guys, but There was one team, I'll have to run through my notes here real fast, where they're playing 3 straight road games, which is challenging, but it's a gauntlet of who they're playing in those 3 games. So, yeah, I think that there are a lot of teams, Dwight, that could raise their arms and see, like, really? That's what you came up with? Okay.
I'm going to probably surprise you here, Brian. I'm going to tell you that Chad Dewing has changed his opinion just a little bit on Bo Nix. And, in fact, just for your information, we're running basically almost a daily Bo Nix update now, and we're keeping real close track of that. And I just think that that coach there has staked his reputation on Bo Nix. What do you think?
Well, he definitely has. I'm curious what the updates sound like. You know, is this Bo Nix had a good workout today? You know, what was just
you'd
random
be
fun facts?
Hey, you'd be surprised at how much Bo Nix info there is out there right now.
Yeah, there's
really?
a lot of stuff. Yeah, and Shacker creates special opens every day for the Bo Nix update, and I'm just hoping. I mean, hey, I wasn't thrilled with Bo Nix going into the draft at number 12, but they made their choice, and so now all I can do is just hope that Sean Payton knows what the heck he's doing and get him ready to go. That's all that matters now.
They overdrafted him, there's no doubt, but if they didn't, then what? Like, what's the plan if they didn't draft him higher?
Zach Wilson at $2.75 million. I mean, come on.
You know, that's the funny thing. I'm glad you said that, because the first thing I thought of with Bo Nix, I was like, is that part of the update? He's got a hot mom like Zach Wilson does? Is that? I don't know. But, yeah, they overdrafted the guy, but this happens sometimes. I'll never forget. It's a random thing that happened years ago in the draft. Travis Frederick was a center out of Wisconsin, and he was taken 31st overall by the Cowboys. And I'll never forget Mel Kiper Jr. saying, wow, most people have a third-round grade on this guy. What are the Cowboys doing? And you could make an argument they could trade down, maybe get him at a lower spot, but Travis Frederick, he went on and he was a perennial Pro Bowler. He was a really good center before he had this it's like I think he had a disease or a sickness or something, forced him to retire. But the point is this. Sometimes when you reach for a player or overdraft him, immediately there's this, oh, gosh, they really reached on that guy. It's a distant memory if the guy is actually productive. And there have been many players where that is the case, and I know you're hoping that's the case with Bo Nix there.
What about Penix in Atlanta? What did you think of that whole situation, Brian?
Just absurd.
Yeah.
Just, to me, Dwight, it's pick a lane.
Yeah.
You know, if
course.
Penix is your guy, fine.
Yeah.
Then why did you sign Kirk Cousins? Why do it? It doesn't make sense to me. And if, Kirk is your guy, then why are you drafting Penix? It doesn't make sense to do both to me, because Penix Jr., he's probably going to be sitting for a couple of years. And that's the biggest benefit of drafting a quarterback in the first round is you get him on the cheap. You take advantage of a quarterback being on that rookie contract, and they're not going to be able to do that. And you could look at the Packers and say, well, they're in a decent spot with Jordan Love. At least they appear to be. That's fine, but they were never able to take advantage of him being on a cheap rookie contract. And you look at some of these teams, the last 3 teams that have been in the Super Bowl had quarterbacks that were on rookie deals. Like you just had, there was Burrow was in there, Jalen Hurts was in there, Brock Purdy was in there. All those guys were on rookie deals at the time. Look at C.J. Stroud. Look at what the Texans did this offseason. He's on his rookie deal. They get Danielle Hunter. They get Stephon Diggs. It's like we're cooking with grease right now. Let's be aggressive and make all these moves because we've got salary cap space. We don't have a quarterback making $50+ million per year. And for the Falcons, they're not going to take advantage of that. So, and it might not work out anyway with Penix Jr. I don't know what he's going to be like in the NFL, but I just say do one or the other. Either draft Penix and don't sign Kirk, or sign Kirk and don't draft Penix. But they did both. I completely disagree with it. I think it's silly.
I don't know if this is a team you were thinking of, but the Bills, starting in week 4, 5, and 6, they go at the Ravens, at the Texans, at the Jets. That's a brutal stretch.
Yeah, that might have been it. I'm not sure. Man, I have too many notes here, Chad.
That's the Brian I know. You're crazy.
You know how it is getting ready for radio shows, and I just read stuff, and I'm like, oh, wow, and I copy and I paste it, and I don't know where it went. I have no idea, but this is the reading and copy and paste mode. You know, I'm not in the arrange mode just yet, but yeah, man, some of those 3 straight road games, it's one thing if you play a couple of bottom feeders, but what you rattled off right there, good luck. That's rough.
Hey, Dwight and I want to know what you think about Bronny James. Would you draft him to see if you could force the Lakers into some type of trade? If you're the Lakers, would you draft him to keep LeBron happy? What do you think about this whole Bronny James situation?
Well, hey, man, when you get to the second round, and especially if you get late into the second round, and one, you look at Bronny and say, you know, shoulder shrug, maybe it could work out. And if you couple that with, and then maybe this is a bargaining chip type thing, yeah, it makes sense. I'd be shocked if the guy went undrafted because of what you just said right there. This is a different situation. So, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Unless you think you can find some other diamond in the rough and you think you can find the next Jokic or the next Jalen Brunson or one of these guys that flourished from the second round, more times than not, most of these guys are dud city, you know? So if you could take a flyer on a guy like Bronny, and there might be some extra perks on top of that, I can't imagine every single team would say, nah, we're going to pass.
Brian, just curious, how are you liking New Orleans?
I like it a lot, Dwight. It's
Really?
It's humid here. It's not bad. It's, you know, May. I can't imagine what July and August are like over here, man. Pretty swampy, you know, muggy. But it's fun. There's a lot of stuff to do. Magazine Street is pretty cool. I know Bourbon Street gets all the pub, but we lived closer to Magazine Street last month, and then this month we're in a different spot, and it's close to, we just went to the lake today. We've been bumming around here and there, so it's fun, man. There's a lot to do. People aren't very friendly, though. I've noticed that. You go to the grocery store, they're not like, hey, how y'all doing? It's just like they'll look at you and be like, you know, not very friendly, but
You
certainly
probably
a party
still,
town.
you still look like a tourist, probably.
You know what, Dwight? That's what it is. That's my theory. They look at you and it's like, oh, here we go again.
Out of
with these
towners.
tourists. Yeah. You gotta feel like you're there, and then once you break that wall down, they're nice as can be. But yeah, it's a little bit of a Boston feel in New Orleans, where it's kind of like, you're not one of us. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like as a tourist.
All right, Brian Noe, he is with Fox Sports Radio. He is the man. Hey, dude, we love talking ball with you, and football season now not far away, which is fabulous.
Oh, it is a beautiful thing, Chad. Always great to talk to you guys, man. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll catch you soon.
All right, enjoy it down there in the Big Easy. There's Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio here on the Rip City Drive. We love talking with him. Brad Botkin talking NBA coming up at 5:20. And when we come back, we have a story from The Godfather on the very first Heisman campaign. You'll find out who did it, and it might surprise you. Hey, Godfather, I was talking with Kerry Eggers. I was supposed to meet him for dinner, his son's birthday party over at Ringside a couple of weeks ago, but I couldn't make it because I had to rush puppy shots to the emergency vet. And I was bummed out because how often does Kerry Eggers offer to buy you dinner at Ringside? You got to take full advantage of that.
Absolutely.
And I love his son, Drew. They're, good people. But he told me in true Kerry Eggers style, because, of course, this would happen to him, he was sitting down and having dinner, and then he looked over, and guess who was sitting next to him? Former Oregon State all-time great, Terry Baker.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, Kerry Eggers probably knows more about Terry Baker than Terry Baker knows about Terry Baker.
He might, yeah.
But you were telling me, and I didn't know this, of course, Terry Baker, a tremendous athlete, right? Won the Heisman Trophy, but you said he was great in basically everything he did.
Yeah, he was, Chad. He won the Heisman in 1962. I wasn't even in college at that time, but I knew what was going on, and I remember watching him on very limited television at that time. The only time I think I ever saw him on TV was they were in the Liberty Bowl his senior year.
I remember you commenting on that run that he had, like 100 yards. I saw it on like the Pac-12 network.
He has the all-time record for a run from scrimmage in any bowl game.
That still stands today.
It'll never be broken. It's because it was 99 yards. It was actually 99 yards and about 2 feet. The ball was just outside the goal line, and he was a quarterback, but it was just a designed run for him, which they did a lot because he was a great runner. And he rolled to the left, as I recall, and he broke through and was gone. They couldn't catch him. He went 99 yards. It was the only score in a 6-0 win in that Liberty Bowl over, I think it was Villanova. Yeah, Villanova. A real cold day in Philadelphia. It was terrible. But anyway, he won the Heisman that year. He was also the point guard on their team that went to the Final Four. So far, the only Heisman Trophy winner who played in the Final Four. And when he came to Oregon State, Tommy Prothro was the coach, and they were single wing team. And they saw him as a tailback in the single wing formation, which is mostly a running formation. But they knew he threw so well, they changed. He got them to change to a T formation, and then that's what they ran his junior and senior year. He rolled up tremendous yardage, both passing and running, but mostly running. But he became the Heisman winner in a rather unusual way because at that time, there just wasn't much exposure for football players west of the Mississippi. He was the first guy to win a Heisman west of the Mississippi because, frankly, the time change, the lack of nationally televised games at that time, 1962, there was hardly any sports on TV, really. And so nobody knew much about him. So the sports information director down there, Johnny Eggers, who was Kerry Eggers' father, Johnny was one of the best sports information directors of all time. He's in the Hall of Fame of SIDs. He was that good. The kind of sports information guy who knew all the writers, knew their idiosyncrasies, to the point when executive sports editor Don McLeod of the Oregonian would go to Oregon State for a football game, Johnny Eggers would have a bottle of Kelso water at his seat because that's what Don used to drink. It's like a kind of mineral water. So anyway, Johnny Eggers came up with the idea. People don't know about him. So he started sending out mailers every Monday after the game. He probably actually sent them on Sunday to all the Heisman voters all over the country with Terry Baker's stats, what he did, how he did it, all this stuff. And it was tremendous. And no one had ever done that before. So it became a lot like all that election mailing stuff you get now, only he was the only guy doing it. And so Terry very much deserved the Heisman, but he would have never gotten it without John Eggers doing all that work on his behalf. And it revolutionized that whole voting process to where it took just a couple years after that. And everybody was doing that kind of thing.
So when we look at the Heisman campaign at Notre Dame with Joe Thiesman, who changed his name to Theismann so it would rhyme with Heisman.
Yes.
That all started because of the genius of Johnny Agers, who started the first campaign for Terry Baker, who ended up winning the Heisman. That's the origin.
Yeah. He also won the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year award that year. I mean, he was, in fact, I think, as I recall, the cover of SI was the biggest man on campus or something like that, because he was huge at that time. And people around the PIL will remember him because he went to Jefferson High School. He helped them win a state championship in baseball. He was a terrific basketball player, and they had state championships in football. And the interesting story is he threw the football left-handed. He was a left-handed quarterback, which at the time was rare, and a lot of the coaches didn't like left-handed quarterbacks. But he said he became a right-handed guy in baseball because they only had one baseball glove in the family. It was for his brother.
Wow.
And it had to be a right-handed thrower.
That's awesome, man. That's a great story. Johnny Agers, SID legend.
Yeah.
Getting it done for Terry Baker. All right, Brad Botkin's coming up at 5:20. We'll take a look at the Denver-Minnesota game when we come back. But right now I've got a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns, who are taking on Carolina in June over at Providence Park. If you would like to check out the game and get 4 tickets, call now, 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Call now. Shacker will get your information. First caller through gets a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns. 503-248-0620. Call now. You got the Rip City Drive. Well, Tiger Woods +1 in round one of the PGA Championship today.
Yeah.
The leader, Xander Schauffele, at 9 under par.
Tiger bogeyed the last 2 holes.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal for Tiger. Schauffele's on fire right now. He was 5 under through 9 today, which is impressive. That course looks like it's in mint condition right now.
A lot of low scores today. A lot of people under par.
Rory McIlroy at 5 under. Can't wait to see how he chokes that away. So a lot of big names up there. Bryson's not too far behind. So we'll see how things shake out. Scotty Scheffler's in the mix at 4 under par. John Daly +11, next to last in the tourney. It's a beautiful course.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, so PGA Championships going on. We got NBA playoffs tonight. Game 6, Nuggets and Timberwolves from Minnesota, Godfather. I want to ask you about this. It was Anthony Edwards who struggled in Game 5. Denver did a terrific job of rim protection and cutting off his lanes to get to the basket, something he had done with ease through the first 4 games. I thought he was passive at times, trying to be a team player. What are some things that they can do to really get him going? Because they're going to need Ant to play a big game if they're going to hope to tie the series and force a Game 7 back in D-Town.
Well, I think the biggest thing for him, Chad, will be getting Michael Connolly back at point guard. Connolly's supposed to play tonight. With him out in the last game, Edwards had to assume a lot of the ball handling stuff for them. And I think that's a heavy responsibility at this point of his career with not a lot of experience in that role and also knowing he has to score, but then having a responsibility for setting other players up. It kind of put him in a tough spot. He's going to get off the ball more now where he can move without the ball and then catch and shoot more and also not have to worry so much about playmaking. And Connolly will take care of him, making sure he gets the ball on his spots. And that's going to be really important to him. I think we'll see him have a big game. I really do. They might even, I think, go to that spot where they have to just clear it out, spread the floor, and let him go one-on-one and see what that does for them. I don't think they like to play that way, but if he's not getting the ball enough and not scoring enough, because they doubled him like crazy in the last game, they might have to go to something like that.
And the other thing they're going to need, whether it's Conley or Jaden Daniels or it's Nikhil Walker-Alexander, they're going to have to find other guys to step up and knock down shots.
For sure.
Especially from downtown. If they get that, because those guys are going to get open looks throughout the course of the game, if those role players can step up and hit shots and it opens things up for guys like Ant, they've got a great chance to even up the series.
Yeah, and I think a really key player for them is Karl Anthony Towns because he has a history in the playoffs of not really showing up for games like this, not being able to get his shots to go down. He has to step up and be really big in this game. He's being paid to be big in this game. You know, he's a star player. He's an all-star type player. They need him to show up. They can't afford another game where he just kind of does a walkabout and doesn't contribute to this in a big way.
Well, you mentioned Mike Conley. I have so much respect for him. He's not the big name, but he's one of those key players where when he's not on the floor, you all of a sudden see the issues they have.
Yep, for sure. He's so reliable in what he does, and he will also take a big shot for you if you need it. He's not afraid to do anything. He's been through it all as a point guard and a player in the league and not intimidated or afraid at all. He is a calming influence on their younger players. I think he's a necessity. And really to think about them winning a key game without him would be a difficult task for them.
All right, so the road team won the first 4 games of this series. Denver bounced back, got the home win in Game 5. I hope Minnesota can get the win tonight because I would like to see them force a Game 7. I would be all ears and eyes tuned into that to see how that Game 7 would play out. It's been a great series. I'm blown away by the bounce back by Denver, which has been truly impressive. I want to see how Minnesota responds to the pressure tonight.
Yeah, I think it's an important game for them moving forward too, because even if they win tonight and then lose at Game 7, they're still at the front end of their window of opportunity. They still can say, "Hey, we're a young team. We've never been there before. We're okay. We don't need to make major changes. We're good." You know, and I think if they don't, then people are going to start saying, yeah, you won 2 games for them, but you collapsed. You let them sweep you after that. And I think that's not a good way for them to end their season.
All right, we got more basketball coming up at 5:20 with Brad Botkin of CBS Sports. I wanted to play this. We were talking about coaches. They often get dubbed geniuses. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I've seen a lot of coaches who are dum-dums. I'm convinced of that. But I think Sean McVay, he's got a lot of respect around the NFL. He is like the young up-and-comer who is considered an offensive genius, great quarterback coach. He's already gotten the Super Bowl with the Rams. He's been to 2. I mean, this guy can do it. He can do it all.
Yeah.
And when he is done coaching, and we thought he might step away, a year ago, but he decided to stay on and continue to coach, he'll be highly sought after when it comes to the TV networks, because getting a guy like Sean who knows the game so well and is so clear and concise in his breakdowns, he would be terrific. Don't you think he'd be a great analyst if he ever decided to choose that role?
Oh, yeah. He's so smart and has this great memory that I'm sure you're going to tell people about.
Yes, I'm going to play it. So do you want to set this up? He was basically just being asked about different situations, different plays, and different games that he's coached to test
Way
his
back.
recall.
Some of them pretty far back. I've heard this before. He's done this before. He's known for this. But he's one of those people, you can ask him about any play in any game. Boom. He comes right out with what the play call was, what happened, the whole thing. Remembers everything.
Yeah, let's check it out. Sean McVay showing off his genius. This guy he's a freak. Take a listen to this. The recall, I think it might be photographic, Godfather.
Yeah.
All right, the Rams' 2024 schedule just dropped, and Sean McVay, we're going to test your trivia knowledge with some questions about each opponent on the slate. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
2021, Week 7. Lions are at SoFi. First and goal at the 5, early fourth quarter. Give us your play call.
Yeah, it was a great touchdown pass from Matthew to Cooper Kupp. That was lab to south right, close, fire 2 fly X crossers. Got him in a man coverage right there. Cooper just outflanked him. Good throw and catch.
All right, which team did Aaron Donald get his 100th career sack against?
It was a heck of a play. Full layout on Kyler Murray against the Cardinals. I have a picture of it. I still got to get him to sign that one.
In the 2021 NFC Championship, Cooper Kupp had an extremely rare emotive reaction to his catch. What play call led to that grab?
Good old-fashioned choice for him. It was F-mo to south left clamp minus, 3 jet, F-choice stucco, man pressure, what a throw and catch. I mean, fitted in a tight window with Kwan Williams right there, and then the run after the catch, he looked like Wolverine celebrating after that thing.
The Bears' last Super Bowl appearance was after the 2006 season. Who performed at halftime that year?
Had to be Prince.
Can you name the top 3 Green Bay Packers career receiving leaders?
It's Donald Driver is up there, James Lofton, and Sterling Sharp got to be the top 3.
All right, so far so good. You're undefeated at the bye. Thursday Night Football against the Raiders 22. How much time was left on the clock when the Rams got the ball for their game-winning drive?
Probably about 1:45.
2018, Week 4, Vikings at Rams. Following Robert Woods' touchdown, he celebrated with which rapper in the stands?
YG.
What was the play call for Puka's first career reception?
It was Y-mo to south left clamp, Jacks right, Y Coors Palm. It's a nice little curl route.
How many games did the late, great Don Shula win?
347.
And for the first 7 years of your career, you were the youngest head coach in the National Football League. Who took that torch from you this January?
Yeah, it would be Gerard Mayo.
Tyler Higbee had a standout performance against the Eagles in 2020. What was his stat line from that game?
3 catches, 3 touchdowns, over 50 yards.
Following John Johnson's interception in overtime of the 2018 NFC Championship game, what was the name of his celebratory dance?
Choppa style, and he was going ham.
What year did Jim Kelly retire from the National Football League?
Yeah, that was 96, I believe.
You are undefeated in their stadium, but you have yet to beat one of the team that plays there.
Yeah, we've had a couple appearances against the Giants. Now we got to go play the New York Jets at MetLife this year.
Talk about knowing your foe.
I have no life, really.
He's a wizard. He's like, it's unbelievable. I mean, nobody can do that. Nobody can. How many wins did Don Shula have?
No, 347.
Yeah. I mean, they're picking who was at the halftime show? I mean, all this stuff is crazy. And then those long play calls that he recalls from a random game. I don't know
Dude, you know how quarterbacks get criticized in the NFL when they have to wear a wristband to remember the plays?
Yeah, right.
I get it. How do you remember all that? How do you remember those plays right after getting your bell rung and you're back in the huddle getting ready to call another play? How in the world do they do it? It's the reason why the quarterback makes so much money. Sean McVay is a freaking weirdo. And it wasn't like they were asking him questions just about the Rams. They were throwing in other random stuff. When did Jim Kelly retire? What about Don Shula's win number? Gosh. I mean, that's the type of guy, so detail-oriented and so sharp. Like, if you're a player and you're not prepared and you don't know what's going on, he's going to sniff it out right away. Like, if you don't know where you need to be and what the play is, he will know. Some people are so smart where they just freak me out. I don't even know what to say about that Godfather. I guess he is one of the brightest minds in the league. That's Sean McVay right there. 14 of 14.
Yeah, I mean, there's something different about a person who can do that. I know David Letterman used to have a female actress on frequently, and she had the ability. He would say, okay, where were you on December 15th, 1977? And she would say, well, I was having lunch with so-and-so. Then I went over here and I did this and that. And they were checking it out somehow. And she had everything from every random day of her life. And I wish I could remember her name. Somebody out there help me out. But she used to do that constantly on shows. There's just something about a memory like that. Crazy. I don't know how people do that stuff. I can't remember my name half the time.
That's why I'm curious about my son. He's got that type of memory.
Really?
Yes. I don't know how he does it, but I can go up to him right now and say, hey, what day is January the 2nd on next year? And he'll know the day because he takes one look at a calendar and he has the days memorized.
Whoa.
If I ask him what room number we stayed in at different road trips we've taken over the years, he knows the room number. I think he's got the photographic memory.
Gee, there ought to be a way to make some money off that.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, your memories, he inherited some of that from you. You got the best memory of anybody I know.
Well, yeah, but the difference is here, like if you were to quiz me on like John Elway's career and the different players you play with, like I could nail a lot of that stuff. But McVay's hitting on a variety of different things.
Yeah, that's what's amazing to me. It's not just football plays during games. Because a lot of baseball players could tell you, yeah, it was a 2-1 slider in 1955 that I hit over the right center field fence. But he's got random trivia things.
Yeah, I got to get to that level sometime. That's amazing. Truly amazing. A lot of players I know don't remember, all the games blend together. They don't remember details from certain games or certain seasons because it's all the same. But coaches, they remember all that stuff. But the play call is unbelievable. Anytime I hear a quarterback start rattling off plays, I'm like, oh, my gosh.
It's nuts.
Wait, what are you whatting? What is this? What's going on here?
This is what Bo Nix is going through right now with a playbook that's probably an inch and a half thick.
Yeah, the Sean Payton playbook is not the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, trying to remember all those calls and where everybody's supposed to be on those calls. And then what the defense is going to do and how you have to check out of that play if the defense is doing something crazy. I don't know how you do it.
All right, we'll come back and we'll dive into the NBA. Brad Botkin, CBS Sports, the Florida man's up next. All right, Godfather. After games 1 and 2 of the Nuggets-Timberwolves series, I really thought Brad Botkin was like Nostradamus. Everything he said on our show before the series, it turned out to be true, and then all of a sudden the shift. So Brad is back on the show from CBS Sports. And Brad, what do you make of the Nuggets' turnaround after games 1 and 2 when I thought they were going to get swept out? What's your take on this?
My take is you were too reactionary like everyone else. I love a movie. Have you guys ever seen a movie called The Big Short that details the housing crisis from '08?
Yeah.
Okay. A great lesson in that movie is when they outline people in the stock market and the mistake that they make, which is whatever most recently happened, they think will continue to happen. And that's a mistake. A regression is almost always coming. The Timberwolves were never going to sweep the Nuggets. They do match up with them well. They do have advantages that allow them to challenge some of the, I don't want to say weaknesses, but some of the challenges that the Nuggets face with their too big lineup, and Gobert can play off on Aaron Gordon, so on and so forth. There was matchup reasons to think that this was not going to be an easy series. But I was on a podcast today, and they asked me the same question, and I'm just not going to categorize this as a turnaround because that implies that the Nuggets were crap in the first 2 games and then just decided to turn it around. They weren't. The Timberwolves are very good. They have specific matchup problems for them, and they may come out and win tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if they won tonight. I'm not going to do the same thing I did a lot of people did after the first 2 games and say, oh, well, now the Nuggets have figured it out and they're going to roll through them tonight. The formula is the same. They match up defensively. If Anthony Edwards has a huge game, they can win. The Nuggets have a bigger margin for error than anybody in the league, but they are not unbeatable. I think Minnesota still matches up with them well. I think tonight's going to be a hell of a game.
What do you think the Timberwolves need to do tonight to ensure they win the game?
Okay, so they have to have a big defensive effort. So Rudy Gobert got killed in Game 5 because, no DPOY of mine is going to get lit up like that one-on-one against Jokic. I got news for you. God himself could not have come down and defended some of those shots that Jokic was making. So that's not a knock on Rudy Gobert's defense. It's a misunderstanding of what Rudy Gobert's defensive value is. He is not a one-on-one stopper. He is a backstopper. That's why it's so valuable that in this particular series they don't have to waste him on Jokic. Because when they do, as you saw in Game 5, he can't guard him one-on-one. So what do the Timberwolves have to do? They have to find ways to keep up with Jokic, not get into switching matchups, not waste Gobert on him, leave him as a roving rim protector, and hope that he can control the paint. If they can do that, and they can put together the defensive game plan that they did in Games 1 and 2, when the ball pressure was off the charts and Gobert was cleaning up everything behind them, then it comes down to Anthony Edwards having a huge game. Because this is not surprising that suddenly the Nuggets the Timberwolves are struggling to score a little bit. Look at the numbers in the regular season. This is not a great offensive team. Even without Mike Conley, they really only have one creator in Anthony Edwards, so their margin for error isn't great. They have to get a big game out of Edwards, whereas the Nuggets can, you're going to get it from Jokic. Maybe tonight it'll be Murray. Maybe tonight it'll be Porter. Maybe tonight it'll be Gordon. They have a lot of margin for error that the Timberwolves don't have. So they need a huge game from Edwards, and they need a great defensive night where they're not wasting Gobert on Jokic and they let him be a rim protector. They put those two things together. The Nuggets don't have their best game. They can win.
Brad, my theory, and I'm wondering if you agree, I think it's going to help Edwards a lot to get Connolly back. He won't have to be on ball all the time worrying about trying to play a point guard role of any kind. And Connolly's so smart. I think he really calms those guys down.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. They don't want to have Anthony Edwards creating all of his own offense. But even Luka Doncic tires at the end of games doing that all the time. So they don't want to do that. So they tried to put the ball in Nickeil Alexander-Walker's hands, and that didn't work at all. He's not a creator. Sometimes he can barely dribble. So, yeah, getting Conley back, if nothing else, just for the organization of the half-court offense and putting Edwards in a position where he's receiving the ball instead of having to initiate from the jump, I totally agree with you that factor could be big tonight, and I would not be surprised if it led to another huge game for Edwards.
Hey, Brad, you mentioned Jokic, Game 5, 40 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists, and 0 turnovers. It doesn't get much better than that.
Stupid.
Jeez.
Stupid. There's a stat. I can't pull it off the top of my head right now, but I think since turnover started being tracked, which was like 77, never been done. Never 40 points, 14 rebounds, and zero turnovers. Never. So it's like you could like blindfold yourself and throw darts at Jokic stat lines, and like 1 out of 3 is a stat line that nobody else has ever put up. But that was a special game, and that's why I think all the Rudy Gobert criticism of how he didn't sort of, I guess, validate his DPOY, that's crap. I mean, Rudy Gobert led the best defense in the league because he's consistently there every night. He gives you a fighting chance every night with rim protection. DPOY is a team award wrapped in an individual honor. If you go back and look at it, there's been only one Defensive Player of the Year since 2012 to this entire century that has been on a defense outside of the top 5. So you have to be on a great defense to be able to win that award. It's not like that means that you can just go shut down any player at any given time. And so Draymond Green came on at halftime and tried to diss Rudy Gobert. Let me tell you something. Prime Draymond Green would have got cooked by Jokic that night the same way Rudy Gobert did. That's crap.
Yeah. Let me shift over to the Eastern Conference for a second. I'm curious. I can't come to terms with this at all, but I'm curious what you think. Boston, it looks to me like might have a reasonably easy path to the NBA Finals. And if that happens, is that good for them or bad for them? Would it be better to have a rough series at some point just to kind of get that edge up a little bit and be more competitive, or do you think this is good? They're going to be healthy probably and not too stressed about getting there?
These are popular questions today. I got asked this question on a podcast as well. I don't think anything. I don't make anything of them not being tested. One, I wouldn't say that they haven't been tested. Cleveland was really game last night. I think that series was a tad bit closer than the 4-1 final would indicate. In each individual game, there were moments when they were tested. The second thing is this is a team that has been the Eastern Conference Finals, 3 straight years, like 6 out of 8 years. They've been to the finals. So they've already had their test. They've already kind of locked in their playoff medal. And so I don't think that one second-round series being tough would suddenly like fortify them in a way that they already aren't. I think the Celtics are a different team this year simply because if they get Porzingis back, they have much better spacing, and that's huge for them not having to settle for late-game jumpers, which is really the only nitpick you can have with this team. Is sometimes they get stagnant, sometimes they get a little bit slow and methodical at crucial points of the game. But with the spacing that Porzingis provides and now the creation that Derek White and Drew Holiday brings, even if Tatum is sort of having kind of a lazy night and he starts reverting to old habits and shooting contested jumpers, like there's 3 other guys they can turn to. So they just have so many weapons, and they've been tested. So I say the easier road they can have until they see probably Denver in the finals, the better. Although I will have a caveat to that. I don't think the Knicks are going to be that easy of a series. The Knicks could play the 96 Bulls, and it's going to be a 5-point game with 5 minutes to go. So if they get OG Anunoby back, the way that Brunson's playing, the way DiVincenzo's playing, the way Hart's playing, they're going to make that thing tough on Boston. I don't think that's going to be a cakewalk.
We're talking with Brad Botkin, CBS Sports here on the Rip City Drive. One question that Dwight and I have, maybe you have an answer for us. A lot of people were frustrated with the way that the game set up a couple of nights ago because New York and Indiana tipped off at 5 Pacific, 8 o'clock on the East Coast. And by the time Denver and Minnesota tipped off, you're looking at like a 9:30 game local time in Minnesota. What is the purpose behind the NBA putting the games at 5 and 7:30? Are they trying to capitalize on the Knicks and Pacers to get them in a prime spot, or what's the purpose behind that?
Oh God! I mean, you'd have to talk to somebody. I don't know. I mean, I've noticed the same thing, but I mean, welcome. Try. I'll tell you what. Switch houses with me and come on back here for football season.
No
and,
way.
And talk to me. Talk to me in Monday Night Football at midnight. That's just the way it rolls on the East Coast. It is tough. I would just have to assume they're trying to get the Pacers, the Midwest crowd at the get home from work hour. But I don't know. I don't know.
How do you do it?
It is annoying.
I've never lived on the East Coast, but how hard is it to get all your sports viewing in with the way that games are and when they start on your side of the country?
Well, for people with normal jobs, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get up and go be like a stockbroker, when you're trying to watch Monday Night Football or the World Series or even just regular Tuesday night NBA games. If you're a Warriors fan or a Lakers fan or a Suns fan or a Blazers fan, I don't know how you do it. For me personally, I've always been a night owl. My job is a night owl job, so I'm fine staying up till 2, 3 in the morning. I got to tell you though, I'm getting into some bad YouTube habits that late at night, and I stumbled on this sleep study where they said for every minute that you go to bed past 10 o'clock, because of like your circadian rhythms and all these weird things, that you're basically like dying. That people on swing shifts, they die 15 years earlier on average than normal people because, like, I guess when your body releases certain hormones, you have to be asleep when those are happening to get the full benefit. And I'm awake till like 2 o'clock. And so now I'm like, shit, I'm like killing myself here staying up to watch all these games. But I mean, there goes the rub, I guess, of being a sports writer. But anyway, that's my caveat or my tangent to
you're freaking me out.
Stay up with these games.
Brad,
I'm telling you, go look up these studies of like people who go to bed post midnight. Like it's brutal.
Brad,
it's brutal.
Brad, I can't not get stuck in YouTube mode, and then I'm like, where'd those 3 hours go, man? It's like an addiction.
I'm telling you. And the worst part is it takes me an hour to settle on a video. The first hour. It's just like scrolling all the stupid videos.
Oh,
no. And I'm like, oh, that one looks like one that won't let me sleep. Let's put that one on.
Oh my gosh, Brad Botkin is all over it. How do you think this is going to play out with the Knicks and Pacers? Dwight and I have been impressed. Indiana's defense is terrible, but I thought the way the Knicks bounced back with energy in Game 5 was impressive.
Sure was, and I mean, Indiana needs more from Tyrese Halliburton. That's just sort of the bottom line. That sounds like a Stephen A. Smith sort of low-hanging analysis, but that's they can't win if their best player is that willing to be that much in the background. He had 4 shots in Game 5 while that game was competitive. He took 3 or 4 more when it was out of reach. That just can't happen. And so we need the guy that was like taking over the in-season tournament. And to some degree, it might be a little bit of a deeper conversation with Halliburton. I equate it a little bit to like Lonzo Ball, where that funky shooting form really makes it tough to pull up for jump shots. If he doesn't get all the way into the paint or he's not stepping back for 3, it's pretty difficult given that form that he has to go through to get it off. And Lonzo Ball was the same way when he used to have to wrap the ball way over to his left and then bring it back to his right. It almost off a third of your offense. And so I'm going to wait and see next year how this plays out. But in the playoffs, when mid-range shots become more valuable, self-creation becomes more valuable, the defense is tighter, fewer fouls are called, there's not as much space, that could be something in Halliburton's game where maybe this isn't just a mindset thing where he's not coming to the forefront at the big moment, but maybe he's the types of shots that lend themselves to playoff basketball, he has a little bit trouble getting those off because of that form. I'll watch that more next year. Maybe that's the case. But one way or the other, they need a big game from Halliburton, bottom line. And if they get it, they can win the same way the Timberwolves can win tonight, and we could see a couple Game 7s.
Okay, I'm gonna go off the rails a little bit with you here and just run this by you and see what you think. But
okay,
we've been talking about Bronny a lot, and he's apparently shown pretty well at the combine, and I'm hearing even David Thorpe is saying, hey, he would take him because he looks like you could develop him. He's explosive, the good jump reach, all that stuff. But let me ask you about some team taking him. And I know LeBron is saying, don't take my kid thinking you're going to get me. Well, if you're the Trailblazers, I don't think you're going to think you're going to get LeBron. You're not. But I think you might take him and then hold him for ransom for the Lakers because I'm wondering what the Lakers might pay to get him.
Well, it's a fair point because I'll tell you what, Dwight, right. Every second-round pick is just like a hope anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like he's athletic. He measures basically about 6'1", and he can't really shoot. So,
right.
Not terrific. But if you're projecting him, I thought our Bill Ryder today, who works with me at CBS, did an article who I thought gave a perfect comp. And he was up there in Portland for a while. Gary Payton Jr., also son of a big-name guy, also not a great college player, also short, also reliant entirely on defense and energy, can't shoot. And he has carved out an incredible career for himself by being athletic and playing defense. And so I thought it was a great answer when Bronny was asked, what can you be in the NBA? And he didn't even try to fake, like, these guys that come in, and I'm going to be a Hall of Famer. He said, I want to be, he said Davion Mitchell, who's getting 12 minutes a game for the Kings off the bench. That's so realistic and such a great comp for a short, defensive, energy, athletic guy. That's actually realistic. So I like that he's in that mindset. I think if he plays his card right, he could maybe have a Gary Payton-like career, which is $50 million. So I think that he's in a good place to become a great player, or not great, a great at what he could be. And a second-round pick is a reach anyway. So if, there's a little bit of LeBron factor sprinkled into that on top of the reach it would be for any second-rounder, to your point, maybe there's some trade leverage. Or maybe he comes on up to Portland for his last year. I don't, any team. I think that's extra motivation for, guys that 95% of the second rounders are going to be out of the league in 3 years anyway. So I actually think there's a couple of decent justifications for drafting Bronny.
Hey, Brad, before you go, how did it go at your daughter's play tonight?
It was good, but the humidity is just off the charts, dude. It's so bad. I was sitting out watching this thing. This is the best part. I guess she had a solo, which I didn't know about. So I'm looking down at my phone, checking what the humidity index is. When I look back up, my wife says, you missed her. She had a 10-second solo. So I saw the group one, but I missed the solo because I was just like, oh my God, what is the humidity? And in those 10 seconds, I missed the solo.
You still got to tell her, honey, you did great. What a solo, right?
Of course. I just hope she doesn't ask me any details. Well, what'd you like about it? I thought you moved well. You moved great.
Oh, dude, you're the man, Brad. We appreciate the time, buddy. Enjoy the night, and good luck beating that humidity.
Yeah, man. Thanks. All right.
Yeah, that was great, man.
Yeah,
we love Brad. Yeah,
good.
I was joking with him beforehand because we've all been there before as parents where it's like you've got to go to your kid's event, and you know that it could be bad, but you can't sit there and boo them or show that you don't like it.
I think so, no.
So I always ask my daughter, Lily, before a band concert or whatever, I'm like, okay, what are we in store for? You guys sounding good or what should I expect? And she'll shoot straight with me. Yeah, we're not so good with this song, but, the teacher says we've been really nailing this one. She gives me an honest assessment.
Yeah.
Humidity. It sucks. Growing up in Oklahoma, summertime, July, August, take a shower, you step out and you're sweating again. The worst. The absolute worst. Heat. We had a above the ground swimming pool in the backyard, so if I was outside playing, it got hot, I could just strip naked and go bail in the pool because we lived out in the country. There's no one around. It was genius. Love that. I like that. The reason why we were talking about Bronny yesterday, I have hope for Bronny because I don't think he's got delusions. I think he knows who he is as a basketball player. And he appears to have a pretty level head and good outlook on the whole process.
I would say Gary Payton Jr. was a much better college player than Bronny, but he hung around for a long time. He didn't leave after 1 year.
Yeah.
That's a big part. He went to JC, and then he ended up at Oregon State. But there are some parallels there. And like I say, people think with his explosiveness and his want to in terms of playing defense, there could be a spot for him.
Well, Bronny and Gary Payton Jr. have something in common. They both have dads that are always trying to get in the headlines.
Yeah.
Gary Payton wants to own the new team that's coming to Seattle, and LeBron wants to live his son's life for him.
I think unrealistic expectations for their child, too, is a part of that.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We'll come back. We got some high fives to give out, which include one of our former Rip City Radio staff members, Stephen Vaughn, getting a special shout-out on a national broadcast. It's perfect. You'll hear it next. All right, Godfather, I'll start out the high five segment tonight. One of our former cohorts, Stephen Vaughn, who is now working at a different station in town. I got to give him a high five because he got a shout out on the Timbers broadcast on Apple TV in their game against San Jose, which is pretty impressive. So, Stephen Vaughn, high five to you, my friend. He was referenced during halftime, and this is a lesson to all young broadcasters out there who are trying to learn how to do things the right way. There's one very simple lesson you learn early on when it comes to broadcasting. You never talk or say anything that you don't want anyone else to hear in front of a microphone because you never know when it's turned on.
Yep.
You have to trust someone else that they turned it off. You just don't take the chances. You never take the chance. It's a microphone. You don't know if it's on or not. Why are you saying that?
Yeah.
Well, it took place during the broadcast right at halftime. The Timbers struggling and not getting the job done. And their announcer, Adam Sussman, was frustrated. Take a listen to this, giving a shout out to Stephen Vaughn.
Stephen, you want to come coach this team? You want to come coach this team? Can't be any worse.
I thought his singing or humming or whatever that was.
That
was more offensive than the comments he made about the Timbers.
Yeah.
Stephen, you want to come coach this team? You want to come coach this team? Can't be any worse.
Well, thanks to our friends at Awful Announcing, when you make a mistake, they're always there to let everyone know about it, right? Well, Adam Sussman put out a tweet, just like always. This happens to broadcasters sometimes.
Yes.
He says, there was a hot mic moment before the halftime show of Portland against San Jose tonight. I want to hop in front of it and let everyone know it was me. I'm extremely sorry and embarrassed it happened. I try to be objective, but ultimately, I prefer when the Timbers win. Based on the scoreline at half, I was frustrated, making an ill-fated joke to my producer. That would be Stephen Vaughn, who he referenced. I don't want this mistake to define the amount of work I put in and will continue to put in. I love being a part of the radio team and upset myself that I put that in jeopardy. I'm most of all sorry to Phil Neville, who is kind enough to give me time before every match for a one-on-one interview, and I've learned so much about the game from him already. I see how much he gives behind the scenes, and his level of care for this club is more than anyone. I would imagine those one-on-one interviews are going to be a little frosty.
Could be a little tense, the next one, I would think.
He might start singing out of nervousness before his next interview with Coach.
Stephen, you want to come coach this team?
What's up, Stephen? Love you.
You want to come coach this team? Can't be any worse.
That was good. I like the musical interlude there. Oh my gosh. That's the kind of stuff I do. Like when I'm on the golf course and I've had a series of errant shots, I start humming or like, you're dumb. I start singing to myself, all kinds of nonsense. I kind of like the la la la. Was it kind of, it's not bad. That's good. Stephen Vaughn getting the shout out. I like that. High five, Stephen Vaughn. Fire away. Yeah. So there you go, kids. Just don't say anything in front of a microphone if you don't want anyone else to hear it. It's that simple.
Yeah, broadcasting 101. I was also taught right away, if you're in the studio like we are right now, don't talk about the guy who is producing or board opping your show because you never know when he has your mics open and is listening to you while you think nobody's listening. So I never talk about Mike Shacker when I'm in here with you.
Yeah, the bottom line is I just assume Shacker's recording everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Shacker, like, he doesn't have, like, ill will. He's not trying to get us in trouble. But he will record anything he thinks could be used as a future joke.
Exactly. If he ever needs leverage, he's got that too.
There's no question.
Yeah.
And it's good to have.
Yeah.
Secrets. Yeah. Tapes. He's got tapes of everything.
Yes. You want to talk about what I did to the boss? Well, I might just send this tape over to him.
What was that? Who's the guy? I always forget his name. Used to be on ESPN, but you sent me the podcast, but they were breaking down a fart in the locker room. What's his name? Lebitard.
Yeah, Dan Lebitard.
Yeah, it happened in an NBA locker room after one of the games.
Yeah, a guy wrote the story that's what loosened up the Knicks before that game that they won in the Garden. How do you punch someone's ass in the face?
Yeah, there you go. That'd be an example of what Shacker's got behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a bunch of those little clips right there. That's why we got to take care of Shacker, Godfather.
Always do.
But yeah, some player. He didn't name the player, or at least in the bit that you sent me and I heard
Right.
it, he didn't name the player.
He only talked about what the guy said after he did it.
Yeah, he ripped a loud one, looked around with no expression, and said, "Man, these pipes in here are messed up." It's a great response. All right, Denver has an early 9-5 lead on Minnesota with 7:58 to play first quarter. Make that 9-7 after an Ant dunk. That's going to do it for us. We're back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3. Justin Myers is going to have Rip City Mornings at 6 o'clock. Big thanks to Michael Shacker, Brad Botkin, and Brian Noe. Have a good evening, Godfather.
And you too, Chad.